Howdy folks, I'm on the streets of freezing Shinjuku, Tokyo to talk you through a common photographic technique. It's something that's misunderstood, I think: focus and recompose. For more photography tips, tricks and gear reviews, check out mattgranger.com and you can sign up for my mailing list whilst you're there. Okay, so focus and recompose, the title kind of gives away what we're talking about. It's a really handy technique and there's a couple of reasons you may want to do it. First of all, what is it exactly? Well, right now I'm framed up in the middle of the shot, but it could be an interesting composition to have your subject off the center of frame. And not all cameras have a good distribution of focus points. Also, if you're shooting in challenging lighting situations, even with the best cameras, it can be difficult to get a good point of contrast to get focus. So, often, even on the highest end cameras, there's a concentration of the cross-type focus points, which are generally the most sensitive, in the middle. So, basically the concept is that you use your central focus point, or whatever point that you have selected, to focus on whatever's most important. Then you hold down the focus button, whether that's your shutter or it's a rear button that you've set up to do that. And then holding that down so it's got the focus locked, you recompose your frame to put the subject into the right place in the frame where you want them. It can be really, really handy if you don't want to keep moving your point all of the time, or if your camera doesn't have a lot of different focus points. Now, a question I often get, because people have noticed that I'm often doing this in my videos, is do you risk throwing your subject out of focus? Will that movement after the fact of focusing potentially put your subject out of focus? Now, there's a potential, but really not a big one. Think about that. What we're talking about is the sensor, which is a flat plane within your camera, somewhere between this big and this big in most cases. So if we focus on our subject and then move, even if I'm moving my camera around quite a lot, like I was really recomposing strongly, the most that you're going to be moving that plane at the extreme on an edge might be a centimeter. So if you're shooting at f1.4 with a 50mm reasonably close, then sure, you might only have a depth of field of 3 or 4 millimeters. But here shooting at, say, f2 and I'm 8 foot away, then it's really unlikely that that amount of movement can throw anything out of focus. If you're shooting landscapes and you're up at f8, same thing. In 99% of situations, you're not going to throw your subject out of focus by that small amount of recomposition. But if you were shooting right up above someone and you want to, say, get the eyes in focus and the body fall away, moving there at f1.4, you could potentially get it. So just be aware of how much depth of field you've actually got to play with. But it can be a really handy way to get your focus locked and get the composition you want all in one movement without having to go in and move your focus points around, or to risk, missing focus because you don't have a good focus point on your subject. Hope that was useful. If there's any other quick tips on common photography misconceptions or techniques that you don't really understand, leave them as a comment below. I'd love to help out. Thanks. I'll see you soon.